Hello and good evening. Let us break down today the astrological chart of the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, and uncover the truth behind some of his political decisions and personal decisions. After the unfortunate events that are still happening in California, I decided to take a quick look at Governor Newsom's natal chart. Now, a lot of times the natal charts of the presidents and governors do reflect the fate of this or that state or this or that country. So it's definitely worth taking a look at this. I'm just going to share a screen with you right now. And what do we see here? He was born on the 10th of October, 1967. Now, we will do it briefly, but you will understand throughout all of this, video. I'm not sure how long I'm going to record it for, maybe for 5 minutes, maybe for 10, maybe for 20. Let's see. Throughout this video, you will understand how the natal chart of an individual can influence the entire state. So he was born on the 10th of October, 1967. We've got his precise data thanks to the internet. And the first thing that strikes me is the fact that he, although being a leader of some sort, being a governor, he's got Sun in the sign of Libra. Now, a lot of you probably have these friends who you hate bringing to the restaurant because it just takes forever for them to decide what it is they want to order. This is Sun in Libra. And Sun in Libra, in his particular case, is in the second house. As you can see, let me show it to you. Astrologers call it a planet, although it's a star. Well, what can we say? He's got very strong diplomatic abilities, that's for sure. Now, who else has Sun in Libra? Putin, for example. So these people really know how to adapt to the current circumstances. They're very strategic. However, the downfall of Sun in Libra is the fixation of an individual on his or her image. It's especially, I would say, not beneficial, to put it diplomatically. It's not beneficial for a man to have Sun in Libra unless he's got some other very strong positions that would complement it, or let's say substitute this lack of decisiveness with some strength. But in this particular case, we see Sun in the second house. What means Sun in Libra in the second house? This person likes to spend money, and his focus on wealth redistribution and public spending actually leads to overspending. So I'm pretty sure if and when he steps down, and I'm not sure how soon this is going to happen, but we will definitely find out that there was a lot of overspending happening, and we already see it now. Now, this reliance on public opinion that we clearly see in the chart leads to indecisiveness. And he kind of balances this indecisiveness with, throwing a lot of money into some projects that are popular. They're doubtful and they're popular. I'm pretty sure if he would have been, let's say, I don't know, the governor somewhere in 2027, 28, when other values and norms will be favored, he would invest money, into the military or strengthening the let's say the morale, building factories, etc., etc. But now, what's popular nowadays, and not for too long, ladies and gentlemen, is the so-called woke movement. And we can take a look at his Venus, which is very close here to Jupiter. Usually people, according to my, let's say, experience, people with this combination, with Venus being very close to Jupiter, are either womanizers, not necessarily always womanizers, but people who have a very sharp sense of what's in fashion. And they are rather choosing what's in fashion over what should be chosen, if you understand what I mean. So this reliance on public opinion is clearly seen on this picture here in his natal chart. Another thing that I would like to mention here is his Mars. Take a look at his Mars. This is the planet Mars, one of the personal planets, and it's right, exactly right on Imam Coeli, which is the lowest point of the natal chart. It's the cusp of the fourth house, and well, I would definitely, um, whoever is making a decision right now, should I stay or should I go? Should I stay in the state of California or should I move to Texas or maybe Florida or maybe to another country? I would say that this Mars on Imam Coeli it screams for continuous crisis. So it's the foundation for instability, it's the foundation for conflict, it's the foundation for something that is recurring because it is right on the cusp of this fourth house. And this Mars is not only on the Imam Coeli right here, but it also makes a square, which is a very unfavorable aspect. It makes a square to Pluto and Uranus. Now, this is very interesting. I've never seen people in ruling positions with Pluto being right on their ascendant right here. Now, let me remind you that this video probably will be helpful only to those who know a little bit about astrology. But for the ones who don't, might just sound like some abracadabra. So Pluto, Uranus, square Mars, we're talking upheaval. We are talking environmental disasters. Now, as the wind was blowing through the forests of LA County, it probably took fire from Uranus. What is Uranus? Well, I have two ideas. First of all, Uranus has a lot to do with electricity. So, probably the electric wires that were just hanging in the air and caught a sparkle. Probably this was one of the reasons why we have the situation that we have now. And Uranus can also be interpreted as, sort of people. In German, they're called asoziale Menschen. So these are outcasters, people whom you cannot touch. And obviously, if one is high on drugs, on some crack, I don't know what people in California are taking, crack cocaine, maybe meth, crystal meth, I'm not sure. But Uranus folks are like these weird people who are not necessarily part of the conventional society. And this alone already gives you an idea of what might have caused the fires as a second aspect of the potential beginning of these fires. The fact that Pluto is near speaks of how widespread they are and what an intense and severe effect these fires are going to have on a lot of folks, not only in California. I find this natal chart really fascinating, and I will explain why. Now, we can also talk about, for example, Gavin Newsom's preferences when it comes to partners and sex, but this is not the point of this video right now, right? However, just out of curiosity, I looked at some of the videos briefly for a few seconds of his partners. And yes, he does have a tendency, he has a tendency of choosing partners also according to what's in fashion. So if back in the days one particular type of females was in fashion, nowadays there is a different type. This guy goes with the flow. And I believe it's his second wife, Frau Siebel. Siebel is the last name. She talked about a woke movement and called herself not a wife but a partner, or the partner. Just briefly, it took me a few seconds to understand what type of a person he is with, and this perfectly fits into the picture of his natal chart. So I am pretty sure that the 5:13 a.m. San Francisco is the correct time of his birth, because he's got ascendant in Virgo and descendant in Pisces. And ladies and gentlemen, if you have a very similar position, if your ascendant is in Virgo, you might want to have some specific type of partners, but usually the people you end up being in official partnership with are either artists, alcoholics, drug addicts, some kind of, let's say, people, very compassionate people, maybe Secret Services folks. Also, it falls under the terrain of Neptune or Pisces in general as a sign, as a planet, as the type of energy. So let me just have a sip of my mate. It's gonna get even more interesting now. Now, why, you're gonna ask me, how come this guy got into power and everything that he's been doing up until now was actually received and perceived with positivity? Well, he's got very favorable aspects right here that talk about the fact that he is well received in this society. Let me remind you of his Mercury. Mercury in Scorpio. He really knows how to talk, what to say. It does not necessarily come from the place of empathy and heart. It more comes from the place of instinct, intuition, and a sharp and deep knowledge of what to say and when to say in order to touch this or the other person. And I make this conclusion not only based on Mercury in Scorpio. I also see that Pluto is in Virgo, which basically means that there is a mutual reception between Pluto and Mercury. For the astrologers, for the professional astrologers, you guys know what I'm talking about. So, why now? Why these fires happened now? Well, there is such a thing in astrology as lunar nodes. Now, the North Node is the direction, let's say, is the path that we ought to, that we, would have to follow, you know. We should be on this path, and if we're not, we're gonna get hit hard. So Governor Newsom just experienced his nodal return, and this period is highly fated, I would say. It's the time of karma, it's the time of accountability. So if you haven't been following your path, so to say, for the past years, um, well, let's say the higher forces will make you accountable for your actions. And this is exactly what is happening. So the sign for the lunar node looks like this, more or less. And we can see that his North Node is in the sign of Aries in a critical degree, 28 degrees. North Node in Aries, what is it exactly? It speaks only about action, bold action, independent action, the ability to be decisive in times of crisis. It's the type of leadership that is unapologetic. It's the type of leadership that exudes courage. And, when we talk about Governor Newsom, is not necessarily the image that we have when we see him. Now, just today, I took a minute of my time to look at some of the recordings of some of his interviews. And his recent interview that I watched on YouTube had him standing with the ruins in the background, and he was really using hand gestures. He was talking to a reporter and really inappropriately using his hand gestures. Imagine if I will be speaking with you right now, and I would be explaining like this all the time. He's got Sun in Libra, he's got Mars in Sagittarius, and he's got his, it's almost like this weird language that does not correspond with what the person is saying, and it was really weird to watch. I just stopped after 1 minute. I just stopped watching it because it just creates cognitive dissonance. Well, let me remind you that Newsom's Venus is actually where? Is in the sign of Virgo. Where's his moon? His moon is in the sign of Capricorn. These are very unfavorable positions for developing love and empathy and compassion. Um, well, I've seen people with Venus in Virgo. It is very hard for them to truly love someone without making a calculated decision. The same comes, to budget spending, making decisions when we talk about where do we stand politically. It's a lot about what's convenient, what's in trend. And moon in Capricorn, unfortunately, a lot of times, and this is just sheer Western astrology, talks about once again lack of empathy. Okay. The ruling planet for Capricorn is Saturn, and even if these people have some urge deep down to express their deep emotions, Saturn stops this impulse from being expressed. So maybe we should give him, a chance of a doubt, and just. But I don't think that this is the case. So, if you want to know my opinion, we're looking at the natal chart of a person who possesses several socially accepted masks and these socially accepted masks, roles, if you will, he knows how to juggle with, how to present himself in front of this or the other audience so he would come across as likable, empathetic, or maybe as strong, or I don't know. It's, I would not call it psychopathic, but there is a certain psychopathic part to it. We're talking about the ability to express emotions without experiencing them. Okay, I hope you got my point. So, Governor Gavin Newsom has his North Node in the sign of Aries. His karmic task was to lead people with true leadership, to become bold in his actions, to become decisive. Did he manage to do it? No. Now, for the ones who are not so familiar with astrology, let me just tell you that Aries, this astrological sign right here, has a planet that rules over Aries, and this is Mars. We are talking literally fire, firefighters, fighting, strength, weapons, aggression. All of these words and all of these symbols are inherently Aries-like, okay? And his South Node is in the sign of Libra. It's basically right here somewhere. So, somewhere right here. South Node is something that we should stay away from. Yes, we've had this experience, we've developed this quality already, but now is the time to develop the opposite quality, something that we're not familiar with. So his South Node in Libra speaks about his, let's say, habitual tendency. How would I put it diplomatically? To seek balance. Okay, to seek balance. It's very planned, very calculated. We don't want to hurt anybody. Political decision based on, am I likable? Do people like me? I like the ones who like me, and I don't like the ones who don't like me. Plain and simple. It's the reluctance to take action. This is Libra. This is you at a restaurant with your friends who take an hour to, decide what from the menu they want to take. So to sum it up, this whole North Node, South Node story, what can we think of? Let's think of Stoic philosophers, Stoic writers. I don't remember the quote exactly, but I believe it was Marcus Aurelius who said something like, "It's not the death that a man should fear, but he should fear the inability to live, or he should fear." He should be, let's say, in fear of never being able to begin to live, something like this. So this is basically the motto of the North Node in Aries and the South Node in Libra. You either are courageous and you live and you lead by example, or you are just a coward. So, with all of this said, let me try to, with all of this said, and it's very sad, let me just remove some of this and show you what actually happened. What actually happened on the day, and I found this information of when the fires in Palisades, when the fires started. It happened on the 7th of January. And when we look at the transits, with the inner chart here being Gavin Newsom's natal chart, and the outer chart being the exact moment of when the fires started. What can we actually see here? And we see here something very interesting. Let me move myself over here. Well, first of all, the striking coincidence that is not a coincidence when we look at degrees. Take a look at this. You see, sometimes, well, these little numbers, sometimes they can tell you a lot more than just the positions of planets in this or the other sign. But maybe this is way too advanced for us to dive into right now. Let me just only mention something that we talked about a second ago. North Node in Aries, critical 28th degree. And when the fire started, Mars was retrograde in the 29th degree. The ascendant of the area was in the 28th degree. The Mercury, and we are talking vehicles, firefighters, information, news, they were in the critical 29th degree. Moon, 29th degree. So it almost looks like, some elements of the universe vibrate at the same frequency and then things happen. Now, here's what happened. This retrograde Mars that started being retrograde in the sign of Leo, and the sign of Leo often symbolizes the wealthy, bourgeois kind of social class. It started in the sign of Leo and then it moved towards the sign of Cancer. We are literally talking about Mars fire destroying the homes of the wealthy, the bourgeoisie. And it makes harsh aspect to ta-da, Newsom's karmic task. One of the reasons why the fires are so big and devastating as they are is because of mismanagement and the failure of Newsom to fulfill his karmic duty. And this is clearly seen in this natal chart. I mean, absolutely. Now, if we look at some of the similarities, what other intricate harmonies can we find here? We can tell that this Capricorn moon plays a major role in the chart because, look at this conjunction. Moon conjunction sun, the critical degree, moon in the critical degree of Aries, transient moon, conjunction black moon, and the north node of Newsom's chart. So it was meant to be. It was meant to be that a lot of lies and probably some overspending that was happening in the area that was way too popular. We're talking inclusivity, woke movement, LGBT, weed, crack cocaine. I don't know what they were spending money on, but the money went into, let's say, a wrong avenue, were diverted to wrong causes that at that time were popular. Okay. And now it just backfired in a way that everyone knows about it. Unfortunately, in form of the real fire and the real action the and the firefighters just standing there and, as Governor Newsom said, crying. Well, duh, they were crying not because they spoke to Biden and because they were so overwhelmed with what Biden had to say to them. they were probably crying because they were looking at the inappropriate hand gestures of this gentleman. And often when we talk to psychopathic um, people, there is a cognitive dissonance in our head. We just cannot bring these two things together. The information that comes out of person's mouth, his hand gestures, and the mimics, right? So, also for a lot of people who live in other states, I would highly recommend to, pull up the natal charts of your governors and take a look at that. Um, for me, this story is heartbreaking, very unfortunate, and yet at the same time is very telling as to how the decisions have been made, and some of these decisions have been swept under the carpet, so no one would really know. And now with the return of the lunar nodes, which is once again is a fatal, crucial point in each and every person's life. It happens few times in our lifetime, throughout our lifetime, and it's really a test, is an exam. And all of these decisions that, accumulated over time, and manifested themselves in form of empty reservoirs and underfunded fire departments, and a lot of people walking around town with untreated medical conditions. We're talking psychiatric acute states that people are in, and they are still walking around being untreated. All of these things manifest as we have the exact moment of return of the lunar nodes. So, also another message for you, ladies and gentlemen, look at where your lunar nodes are. And if they are coming up, get ready and find out what you need to do. I'm very happy to um, be able to show you this. And I hope to see you soon and have a wonderful evening.